All right. So, are you ready to talk millions?
Always ready for that.
Okay, good. Well, today we're diving into this piece. It's called 10 Steps to Make Your First $1 Million. And it's written by, get this, a corporate attorney
Oh, wow.
who has actually walked the walk and helped other people reach that kind of
Seven-figure mark.
yeah, that seven-figure mark, which can be pretty daunting to think about for
Yeah.
sure. But I think this guide actually does a really nice job of breaking it down
Yeah.
into like steps that feel surprisingly achievable.
Okay, cool.
So you ready to unpack this?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, it is interesting that, it's like this source really demystifies this whole idea of like wealth building.
Mm-hmm.
And it really stresses that it's not really about like striking gold or anything.
Right.
It's more about like a consistent strategic approach,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that, I think resonates with a lot of people, especially if you're thinking about like long-term financial security.
Exactly. And it tackles some common misconceptions like, you don't need to have a six-figure salary to become a millionaire.
Right.
It's more about what you do with the income that you do have.
Right. It's about, making those dollars work for you.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that the source really kind of emphasizes is the importance of financial clarity. So, like, really understanding, where your money's going. Have you ever, like, thought about, where you might be able to cut back maybe or like, redirect funds towards, savings or investments?
It's almost like taking a financial inventory, right?
Really?
You might be surprised
Yeah,
at what you discover. Like your daily coffee or that subscription you forgot about could be making a bigger difference than you think.
totally. And actually, the source recommends um, aiming to save between 15 and 50% of your income. Now, that might sound like a really big chunk.
It is a pretty wide range. Do you think that's realistic for most people?
Well, I mean, it depends, right? Like
Mm.
on your circumstances.
Yeah.
But even if you can't hit those numbers right away, the principle is important. And this is where the power of compound interest comes in.
Okay.
So think of it this way. Um, Imagine you invest $10,000 today at like a 7% return.
Hmm.
In 30 years, that could grow to over $76,000
Wow.
without adding another cent.
That's pretty compelling.
Yeah,
Makes you kind of wonder why we don't learn about this stuff in school. So, okay, even small contributions can like snowball over time.
exactly. And actually, the source compares someone who starts saving like $5,000 a year in their 20s
Right.
versus someone who waits until their 40s. The difference in their final outcome is it's crazy,
Yeah.
even though their total contributions are the same.
So where's the best place to like start putting those savings to work?
Well, the source really highlights retirement accounts like 401ks, IRAs.
Okay.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on those? Are you contributing to a retirement plan already?
I'll admit I get kind of intimidated by all the jargon, the financial jargon. What makes those accounts so special?
Sure. Well, for one, they offer tax-deferred growth,
Yep.
meaning like you don't pay taxes on your earnings until retirement, so your investments can grow faster.
Yeah.
And with a 401k, some employers even match a portion of your contributions.
Okay, so it's like free money basically on top of like the tax benefits.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to look into that. How much can you actually contribute to these accounts?
So for 2024, the 401k limit is $23,000, or if you're over 50, it's $30,500.
Okay.
For IRAs, it's $7,000 or $8,000 if you're over 50. Even if you can't hit the max right now, it's definitely worth exploring.
Makes sense. Every dollar counts.
Exactly.
Um, but what about, for those of us that want to kind of accelerate that wealth building process? The source mentions diversifying income streams. What exactly does that entail?
Yeah, so it's basically, generating income from multiple sources.
Right.
So not just relying on your primary job. So think like gig work, freelancing, or even renting out assets that you already own.
Okay.
I mean, the gig economy has exploded in recent years.
It has.
And there are so many opportunities out there, to like really leverage your skills and earn some extra cash.
So it's not about replacing your day job, but more like adding some extra firepower.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like having that extra income can be a game changer.
Yeah.
Whether it's, going towards your savings goals or investments or even paying off debt.
Okay, cool. Speaking of investments, the source also offers some interesting advice about building a diversified portfolio. Have you given much thought to, how you're investing your money
Yeah.
personally or just in general?
Yeah. I mean, Honestly, I've always been a little bit intimidated by the stock market. So
Mm.
does diversifying, like, do I need to become a financial expert overnight? No, no, not at
To
all.
like really make this work.
It simply means, spreading your investments
Okay.
across different asset classes. So like stocks, bonds, real estate, maybe even venture into things like precious metals or cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
This approach really helps to like mitigate risk.
Mm.
And it can also kind of smooth out, market fluctuations.
So it's kind of like not putting all your eggs in one basket, even if some of those baskets seem a little bit scary at first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the source really stresses the importance of, having that long-term perspective
Hmm.
and not letting emotions kind of drive your investment decisions.
Right.
You might even consider seeking guidance, like from a financial advisor, if needed.
That makes sense. It's easy to kind of get caught up in the hype or the panic
Totally.
when the
Yeah.
market's like volatile.
Yeah, so it's about, having that strategy and sticking to it. And speaking of like avoiding impulsive decisions, the source also has some strong words about debt. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about like managing debt?
Yeah, that's definitely a topic that I think makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But it's definitely something that we all need to address. Is the source suggesting we avoid debt altogether?
Well, I don't think it's about becoming debt-free overnight,
Okay.
but it's really more about being mindful of like unnecessary spending,
Yeah, okay.
especially those like high interest credit cards or like those buy now pay later schemes.
Yeah. Those can be tempting. But yeah, I can see how that could easily like derail your financial progress. Do you think it's ever okay to take on debt?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely situations where debt can be a strategic tool,
Okay.
like for like a mortgage or like a business loan. But again, it's about being really intentional
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that it aligns with your long-term goals. Have you had any like personal experiences with debt, good or bad, that you've kind of learned from?
Yeah, I think most of us have learned a few hard lessons
Yeah,
about debt at some point.
for sure.
Um, it's so easy to kind of fall into that trap of overspending and then being overwhelmed by those monthly payments.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, like avoiding debt. It's also about being aware of something called uh, lifestyle inflation.
Lifestyle inflation, what is that?
So think about it. You get a raise, you're feeling good, you have a little bit of extra money, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm going to upgrade my car,
Right.
I'm gonna upgrade my wardrobe,
Yeah.
maybe even upgrade my house. And then before you know it, you're back to living paycheck to paycheck,
Right.
even though you're earning more.
Ah, that's a sneaky trap.
It is. Yeah, it's so easy to kind of like justify those upgrades. When you see that extra money like in
Yeah.
your account.
Hmm.
The source actually points out that this is why a lot of like high earners never actually build wealth.
Mm.
They're constantly upgrading their lifestyle to kind of match their income. And it leaves very little room for savings and investments. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a good reminder to be mindful, I think, of our spending habits even when things are going well.
Totally. So how do we combat that?
Yeah.
Right. That lifestyle inflation. Well, the source suggests continuing to save like the same percentage of your income even after a raise. So think of it as like giving your future self a raise.
I like that. Yeah. It's like a little mind game, I guess, to outsmart your spending impulses.
Exactly. And here's another little gem. Never stop learning.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. Lifelong learning, always evolving. But what does that look like in the context of like personal finance?
Yeah, so it's about staying curious about financial trends, you know, exploring different strategies
Mm.
and constantly seeking to like expand your knowledge. So like attend workshops, read books, listen to podcasts, anything that helps you stay informed and adapt as needed.
It's about being proactive, right? And
Yeah,
taking ownership of your financial education, not just relying on other people to tell you what to do.
exactly. And here's where the source takes kind of an interesting turn. It emphasizes the importance of flexibility.
Flexibility. Wait, I thought we were all about sticking to the rules
Yeah.
and being disciplined. How does flexibility fit into the picture?
Well, yeah, I mean, discipline is crucial, but the source, acknowledges that sometimes it's okay to deviate from the plan, especially, for personal satisfaction or for long-term gain.
Can you give us an example of that?
Sure. So remember that kitchen renovation scenario we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes sense to, like, dip into your savings a little bit for a major upgrade that's going to add value to your home
Right.
and to your quality of life.
So it's not about following like a rigid set of rules, but rather like using them as guidelines and adapting them as needed.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between discipline and recognizing when a strategic detour might be worthwhile.
Okay.
But even with those detours, one thing remains constant. Patience is key.
Patience. That's not always my strong suit, I'll admit, but I understand why it's important in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, building wealth, it takes time. And the source just, reminds us to just stay focused on those long-term goals, resist the temptation of quick fixes, and ride out those market fluctuations. What do you think about that?
It's a good reminder that this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. You got to be in it for the long haul.
Exactly. And that brings us to, I think, one of the most fascinating aspects of this whole journey, and that's the power of mindset.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. We're talking about more than just like numbers and strategies at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah, the source emphasizes that, a positive mindset is so crucial.
So, like, even if we have all the right tools and knowledge, if we're not in the right headspace, we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure.
Well, it's not, quite that dire,
Okay.
but you get the idea. It's about cultivating a belief in yourself, that you can achieve those goals even when you face challenges or setbacks. Have you ever noticed how, like, your mindset influences your financial decisions?
Oh, absolutely. Like, when I'm feeling confident,
Yeah.
optimistic, I'm more likely to make like smarter choices and stick to my plan.
Yeah.
But when I'm feeling stressed or discouraged, it's so easy to kind of like fall back into those bad habits.
Totally. Yeah, it's all about recognizing those patterns
Right.
and consciously shifting your mindset
Yeah.
towards one that really supports your financial goals.
So it's almost like we're training our brains to think like millionaires.
In a way, yeah. It's about rewiring your thinking from, like, I can't afford that,
Yeah.
to how can I make that happen?
Right.
It's a very powerful shift.
It's like we're not just building wealth, we're building confidence
Yeah.
and resilience along the way.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. And that leads us to another kind of key aspect of mindset,
Yeah.
and that's embracing continuous learning. The financial world is constantly evolving,
Hmm.
and to really stay ahead of the curve, we need to be lifelong learners.
We've already kind of touched on that a bit,
We have.
but I'm curious to hear a little bit more about what that looks like in practice.
Yeah. So it means staying curious about financial trends, exploring different strategies, constantly seeking to expand your knowledge base. So attending workshops, connecting with financial professionals, listening to podcasts like this one, it's all about feeding your financial brain and expanding your toolkit.
I love that analogy. It's like becoming a financial ninja. You're constantly honing your skills and adapting to that ever-changing landscape.
Exactly. Yeah. And let's be honest, learning about personal finance doesn't have to be dry and boring. There are so many resources out there that make it engaging and even fun.
That's true, from like online courses to interactive tools to financial games. There's something for everyone. But even with all the information available, sometimes it's helpful to have a little bit of extra guidance. The source mentions seeking professional help. Yeah.
What needed.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally. And, not everyone can afford a personal financial advisor.
Right.
But there are resources available, even if you're on a budget. I don't know, what are your thoughts on seeking professional help? Have you ever considered it?
I think it can be incredibly valuable, especially, for those who feel overwhelmed or unsure of where to start.
Hmm.
But, I think it's also important to do your own research.
Right.
Be an active participant. You're not just blindly following someone's advice.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about finding that balance between seeking guidance and taking ownership of your decisions.
Yeah, it's not an all or nothing proposition.
Right.
There's options available for every level of income and experience.
Yeah.
The key is to recognize when you might need some extra support and not be afraid to reach out.
Exactly. And remember, even if you are working with a professional,
Yeah.
it's still crucial to like educate yourself,
Mm.
understand the fundamentals of personal finance.
Right. It's your money. You should be empowered to make informed decisions about it.
That's a great point. It's about being an active participant in your financial journey, not just blindly following someone else's advice. Now, before we get too carried away with all these, strategies and tools, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. The myth of millionaire spending habits. The source really challenges like that whole notion that wealthy people are constantly like splurging
Right.
on, luxury items, extravagant
Right.
lifestyles.
Yeah, that's a stereotype that we see a lot in the media, but it's not always accurate. The reality is, many millionaires are surprisingly frugal.
Really?
They understand the value of money, and they're careful about how they spend it.
So it's not about like depriving yourself or living like a monk. It's just about being intentional
Yeah,
with your spending
totally.
and
Yeah,
making choices that align with your values and your goals.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to the importance of mindset.
Yeah.
It's not about how much money you make. It's about how you think about money and how you manage it.
Right.
$1 million, it's not just a number,
Yeah.
It's a reflection of your financial habits, your discipline, your commitment to building a secure future.
That's a powerful way to look at it. It's not about winning the lottery or inheriting a fortune.
Right.
It's about making consistent, smart choices over time
Yeah.
that compound into, significant wealth.
And the source emphasizes that the journey to $1 million, it's not always linear.
Right.
There'll be bumps in the road, market fluctuations, unexpected expenses.
Life happens.
Exactly. But the key is to stay focused on the long game. Adjust your strategies as needed and never give up on your dreams.
I love that. It's like a financial pep talk. We got this. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from setting goals to building a budget to, investing wisely, cultivating a millionaire mindset. We've explored like those key strategies for reaching that magical $1 million mark.
Yeah, I hope you're feeling like inspired and empowered
Yeah,
to take control of your financial future.
I am. But before we move on, I want to hear your final takeaway from this first part of our deep dive. What's the one piece of wisdom you want to leave us with right now?
Okay, here's what I want you to consider. The most valuable asset in your wealth building journey isn't money itself, it's your mindset. A commitment to learning, adapting, and making informed decisions can be far more powerful than any initial sum.
That's such a powerful reminder. It's about recognizing that we have more control over our financial destinies than we might think. It's not about luck. It's not about circumstances. It's about making conscious choices
Yeah,
and developing a mindset that supports those goals.
exactly. And remember, this is just the beginning.
All right.
There's much more to unpack as we continue our deep dive into 10 steps to make your first $1 million.
I can't wait to see what other insights this source has in store for us. We'll be back soon to continue our exploration of the millionaire mindset and the practical steps to achieving financial success. Stay tuned.
Sounds good. So, welcome back
Back for more
to our deep dive.
$1 million deep dive.
Exactly. Before we, dig into kind of the next layer of strategies from 10 steps to make your first $1 million,
Okay.
now, to touch on something that we talked about earlier, that whole idea of millionaires being surprisingly frugal.
Yes. I love that point. It really challenges those flashy stereotypes.
It does. And the source kind of digs into some more specific habits
Yeah.
of the wealthy that anyone can, adopt regardless of their income level.
Yeah.
One of the big ones is tracking spending meticulously. Like, it's not about being cheap, it's about awareness.
That makes sense. It's easy to let those little expenses slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention. Do you have any like tips for making tracking like easier or more effective?
Yeah, the source recommends leveraging technology. There are so many apps and budgeting tools out there
Right.
that can really help you, like, categorize your spending, set limits, and even visualize where your money's going. Have you ever tried using any budgeting tools yourself?
I've dabbled in a few,
Yeah.
but I'll admit I haven't always been the most consistent budgeter.
Yeah.
It's easy to, get caught up in the day-to-day and let those good intentions kind of slip. What about you?
Well, I'm kind of a data nerd, so I actually find it quite satisfying
Okay.
to, like, track my spending
Right.
and see those patterns emerge. It's like a game to me,
Right.
trying to, like, optimize my finances and see where I can make improvements.
Yeah.
But even if you're not like a spreadsheet fanatic,
Mhm.
there are tools out there that can really make budgeting, feel less like a chore and more like a fun challenge.
Right, right. So, okay, tracking is important, but what about actually, cutting back?
Yeah.
on that spending. Any advice from the source on how to do that effectively?
Yeah, one strategy they highlight is what they call the 30-day rule.
Okay.
So before you make any non-essential purchase, you wait 30 days.
Okay.
And, often that initial impulse kind of fades
Right.
and you realize you don't really need it after all.
That's clever. Gives you a chance to really think about if you really value that item or if it's just like a fleeting desire.
Yeah, exactly. And, during those 30 days, you can also do things like research the best prices,
Right.
look for coupons or discounts,
Yeah.
and make sure you're really getting the most bang for your buck. Another tip from the source is to focus on experiences over material possessions.
Yeah, that's a trend I've been noticing as well. Like people are prioritizing like travel and adventures and personal growth over, accumulating more stuff.
It's about investing in memories,
Right.
personal development,
Right.
which can really bring, a lasting satisfaction, happiness. You notice that kind of shift
Yeah,
in your own life?
definitely. I've been kind of decluttering my home
Yeah.
and realizing I'm much happier with
Yeah.
a simpler lifestyle. It's liberating, I think,
Yeah.
to let go of all that excess stuff
So,
and focus on what truly matters.
it's about aligning your spending with your values, right?
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of values, the source also touches on the importance of giving back,
Oh,
even if you're not a millionaire yet.
mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about like incorporating philanthropy into your financial plan?
I think it's an important part of like a holistic approach to
Mhm.
wealth. It's not just about accumulating money. It's about using it to make a positive impact on the world.
Totally. What advice does the source give on how to get started
Yeah.
with giving?
Like, how do you actually get started with that?
Well, they emphasize, finding causes that resonate with you personally
Okay.
and starting small. Like it doesn't have to be this huge financial commitment. Even volunteering your time or donating a small amount can make a difference. It's about cultivating that spirit of generosity,
Mm-hmm.
which can be incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. And it's something that, you can kind of build into your plan
Totally.
as your wealth grows.
As your wealth grows.
It's a beautiful way to align your financial success with your personal values.
Totally. Now, beyond spending habits, the source also kind of digs into how millionaires think differently
Okay.
about money. Like, they're always on the lookout for opportunities to increase their income, not just through, their primary job, but through, side hustles, investments, creative ventures. It's not just about saving. It's about generating those income streams.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways they suggest finding those opportunities?
Yeah.
Well, they talk about, networking, identifying problems that need solving, and being open to like unconventional ideas. It's about having that entrepreneurial mindset, even if you're not like, starting your own business.
That's so important, I think, in today's world. It's about being adaptable, resourceful,
Yeah.
always willing to learn new skills. The gig economy has really opened up a world of possibilities, I think.
It has. And the source points out that millionaires are often lifelong learners.
Okay.
They're constantly seeking to expand their knowledge base, improve their skills, and stay ahead of the curve. It's not about having all the answers,
Right.
It's about being curious, open to new information.
I think that's a valuable lesson for anyone, regardless of their financial goals. Continuous learning is essential for growth
Yeah.
in all areas of life. But it's not just about learning for the sake of knowledge, right? It's about applying that knowledge to, to make better decisions and create opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source stresses, the importance of taking action, not just passively, consuming information.
Right.
It's about putting that knowledge into practice,
Yeah.
testing ideas, and even being willing to fail,
Okay.
and learn from those mistakes.
Right. Right. I think a lot of people get stuck in like that analysis paralysis stage,
Yeah.
like overthinking, overplanning, and they never actually take that first step.
Right.
The source also emphasizes the importance of building a strong network, right?
They do.
What role does that play in the wealth building journey?
Well, they highlight that networking is not just about schmoozing,
Yeah.
or collecting business cards. It's about building genuine relationships, supporting others, and creating a community of like-minded individuals who
Yeah.
can, inspire you, challenge you.
Right. It's about surrounding yourself with people who, who believe in you,
Yeah.
who can offer guidance and support,
Right.
but also those who can like push you, outside of your comfort zone, help you see things from a different perspective.
Exactly. And that leads us to another key mindset shift, embracing calculated risks.
Okay. Now we're getting into like the exciting stuff. But risks can be scary. How do we know when it's worth taking a chance?
Well, the source, distinguishes between like reckless risks
Yeah.
and calculated risks.
Right.
It's not about blindly jumping into the unknown.
Okay.
It's about doing your due diligence,
Yeah.
weighing the potential rewards against the potential downsides and
Wow.
making an informed decision.
So it's about having like a healthy balance between like caution
Hopefully.
and courage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about being willing to step outside your comfort zone,
Yes.
but also having a plan in place,
Right.
to mitigate those risks and protect yourself.
I think a lot of people they equate, risk with failure. But the source seems to kind of embrace failure as a valuable learning experience, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, millionaires, they see failure as a stepping stone, not a setback.
Okay.
It's about learning from those experiences, adapting your strategies, and coming back stronger and smarter.
So it's not about avoiding failure altogether.
Yeah.
It's about embracing it as a necessary
Part of the process.
of the growth process.
Exactly, yeah. And that ties back to the importance of resilience.
Yeah.
Millionaires, they don't let setbacks define them.
Right.
They pick themselves up, they dust themselves off, and they keep moving forward. They have that unwavering belief
Hmm.
in their ability to succeed.
It's like they have that grit factor
Yeah, that grit.
that allows them to kind of persevere.
Totally. Through adversity and come out on top. That's really inspiring, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And that kind of resilience doesn't just apply to finances.
Right.
It can be applied to all areas of
Yeah.
life. It's about having that inner strength
Mm.
to face whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
And keep striving towards your goals.
I think that's such a powerful message to take away from this deep dive.
Yeah.
Building wealth isn't just about the money.
Right.
It's about developing these essential qualities that will serve you well
Totally.
in all aspects of your life.
And that brings us to another fascinating insight from the source. The importance of seeking mentors and role models. They emphasize that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are countless people who've already achieved what we aspire to, and we can learn from their experiences,
Right.
both their successes and their failures.
That's so true. It's like having a roadmap for success,
Right.
but with all the like detours and potholes already marked. Exactly. Yeah. What are some ways they suggest finding those mentors or role models?
Yeah.
Well, they recommend attending industry events, connecting with people you admire online,
Okay.
and even reaching out to, authors or speakers whose work really resonates with you.
I love that. It's about being proactive
Yeah.
and seeking out those connections. It's like building your own personal board of advisors.
Totally. Yeah.
But instead of like, paying them,
Right.
you're learning
Direct
from their
journal.
experiences and their wisdom.
Exactly. And those relationships can be so valuable, both, for your personal and professional development. They can provide, guidance, support, accountability,
Right.
which can be essential, I think, for staying motivated.
Right. It's like having like a cheerleader in your corner,
Right.
someone who believes in your potential
Yeah.
and is there to support you through those ups and downs.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as we're talking about mentors and role models, I think it's important to remember that we can also be mentors to others,
Right.
even if we don't feel like we've quote unquote made it yet,
Mhm.
we all have valuable experiences and insights to share.
That's such a powerful point. It's about recognizing that everyone has something to offer.
Yeah.
And that by sharing our knowledge and experiences, we can create this ripple effect of positive change.
It all comes back around,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And that brings us back to kind of the core message, I think, of 10 steps to make your first $1 million.
Yeah.
It's not just about achieving financial success for ourselves.
Right. Yeah,
It's about creating a world where everyone has that opportunity to thrive.
It's about using our wealth, both financial and otherwise, to make a positive impact
Yeah.
and leave a lasting legacy.
Exactly. And that's something we can all aspire to,
Yeah.
you know, regardless of our current financial situation.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface
I know.
of this incredible source.
We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
but there's still more to uncover. Shall we move on
Yes.
to the final part
Yeah.
of our deep dive into 10 steps to make your first $1 million?
Absolutely. I'm eager to hear what other gems this source has in store for us.
Let's delve into the final strategies for unlocking your financial potential and creating a life of abundance.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into 10 steps to make your first $1 million. We've come a long way. We've covered mindset shifts, spending habits, even embracing those calculated risks. What else does this source have in store for us on this journey to financial freedom?
It's interesting how the source kind of brings everything together in these final steps. It really emphasizes that building wealth isn't just about like following a set of rules. It's more about creating a holistic plan,
Mm.
one that aligns with your values, your lifestyle, and really your long-term vision. Have you ever thought about your financial goals that way?
I I think it's really easy to get caught up in like the numbers
Mm.
and the strategies, without really considering that bigger picture, like what are we actually working towards and why does it even matter to us?
Right. Yeah, the source really encourages us to think about our ideal life, not just like our ideal bank balance. What does financial freedom actually mean to you? Like what would you do with your time, with your resources if money were no object?
That's a powerful question. It shifts the focus from like accumulating wealth to creating a life of purpose and meaning.
Right. And it's not just about personal fulfillment either. It's about making a positive impact on the world. The source really highlights the importance of using our wealth, both financial and otherwise,
Oh.
to support causes that we believe in, to lift others up, and to create a better future, for generations to come.
It's about recognizing that wealth is not just a measure of our own success. It's a tool that can be used to create positive change in the world.
Totally. And one of the key strategies that they really emphasize for achieving this is something they call leveraging your strengths. So it's about identifying your unique talents, your skills, your passions, and finding ways to use those to create value in the world.
So it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart. It's about focusing our energy on the areas where we naturally excel and where we can make the biggest impact. Have you seen examples of this in your own life or in the lives of others that you've observed?
Well, absolutely. When people tap into their passions and align them with their financial goals, it's like this superpower is unleashed. They bring this energy and enthusiasm to their work. It's contagious and it often leads to really remarkable success.
It's like finding that sweet spot where your passions and your skills and the needs of the world kind of intersect.
Exactly. And the source reminds us that this is a journey, not a destination. There will be, setbacks, challenges, detours along the way, but by staying focused on our long-term vision, being adaptable and never giving up on our dreams, we can achieve, incredible things.
It's about having that unwavering belief in ourselves and our ability to create the future that we desire.
Totally. And remember that the final point we discussed, that power of mindset.
Hmm.
The source circles back to that idea and stresses that it's not just about thinking positive. It's about actively cultivating a mindset of abundance, gratitude, and generosity.
So it's about recognizing that we already have so much to be grateful for, even as we're working towards those goals.
Exactly. And that sense of gratitude, it can really fuel our motivation. It can inspire our creativity and even attract more abundance into our lives. It's like this virtuous cycle that can lead to really incredible results.
That's such a powerful message, and I think it perfectly encapsulates the spirit of 10 steps to make your first $1 million. It's not just about the money, it's about creating a life of purpose and meaning and abundance,
Yeah.
in all areas.
Well said. It's been a pleasure, diving into this source with you. I hope our listeners have found this exploration insightful and inspiring.
You too. This deep dive has given me so much to think about. I'm excited to put some of these strategies into practice in my own life.
Remember, the journey to $1 million isn't just about financial gain. It's about personal growth. It's about contribution and creating a life that truly reflects your values and your aspirations.
And it all starts with a single step. So to our listeners out there, we encourage you to take that first step today, no matter how small it may seem.
Dream big, stay focused, and never underestimate the power of your own potential.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into making your first million. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We hope you found it valuable and inspiring. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving towards your dreams.